I mean, I would love to say yes. Every pension person who looks after their socially responsible is considering gender diversity as one of their factors.
Yeah. Why we don't need your product? We've got our own.
I would love for that to be the case.
Yeah.
It's not, from what I've and it's a limited sample, right? I'm saying anecdotally. There are some where they look generally at board diversity. But it's not even the majority. You know, there's a lot that their parameters that they look at include, ecological sustainability. There's a lot that look at, in terms of governance, they look at board compensation, executive compensation, but very few that I've encountered. In fact, I think there's only one that I've encountered that actually said we do look at board diversity as one of our governance factors that we care about.
It's also interesting just to see what is, reported, right? But in talking with the folks at Pax Elevate, right, when they started to look at their global
and Pax Elevate is a mutual fund that you can buy retail. Yeah.
They had a set of interns in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, looking at photos of Japanese company boards, right? Because you're trying to figure out, this isn't data that was readily available.
How many women were on board?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's one of the challenges when I've talked to other organizations who are trying to do this kind of work and are starting to implement strategies like yours and yours, is they're trying to think about what can we measure and what's out there. And what they're coming up against is there's some things that we can measure, like is it a woman? It's pretty easy to look and figure out if it's a female CEO or not, and you could pretty much count the women on boards on U.S. companies, but already you get to Japan, and we are less capable of doing that. But then if you want to go beyond the kinds of metrics that you're talking about that you explore at U.S. Trust, those are proprietary metrics that you have had to develop internally because there are very few. There are some specialized metrics companies like Sustainalytics and MSCI, but they don't even have a lot of gender metrics. It's just like people have not started measuring these things. And so even if you want a strategy, where do you get the numbers to pull that strategy together?
Jackie, how do you do this? I mean, you do way more than just women on boards. The metrics that you briefly mentioned to us, how do you do that?
We do buy a lot of research, right? So the firms that Sarah mentioned and some others, right? And some of the research is proprietary. I think you're finding more and more firms that are looking at pulling data from various sources, right? You can get data reporting from the OCC, you can get the BLS, census, there's all sorts of data that comes in different places. And so one of the things that's important to do is to sort of have that trust but verify aspect. It's great to have a company that says, yes, we have a equal employment policy. But if we know from the EEOC that they're paying a series of fines every year because they're getting sued, we know this isn't working all that well, right? So you have to look at both the policy and the practice, and you need data that supports both.